Welcome back, everyone. Last month I made a video about paneling. I'll link it somewhere around here. It's actually an in-depth video about the anatomy of a panel and how you should panel your manga pages, right? But I learned recently that some of my Discord members are actually having a problem getting their script and converting it into a manga page, right? So today, that's what I want to address, is how to convert your script into a manga page. And later on, we're going to attempt to convert some of my Discord members' scripts into a manga page. Okay, stay tuned for that. But for now, cue the intro. There's really nothing to this. There's only three things I want you to worry about, okay? That's sequencing, camera angle, as well as the context. It doesn't matter whatever scenario you have in your script, as long as you think about those three, it can convert properly into a manga page or comic book, whatever it is, right? So what the hell is a sequence anyway? So a sequence is just an action that's taking place by your characters or a moment that's happening in quick succession, okay? For example, I'll give you a page here that I created, and on panel 1 here, Hikari is getting an invite by her friends, and she's kind of apprehensive about the invite, but she's being reassured by her brother here, and this back and forth happens throughout the page, and it's resolved at the very end of the page where Hikari ends up going with them anyways. So that's what I mean by a sequence, okay? In this page, the sequence starts with an invite, and then the page ends where the invite is being accepted. The way I think about this is just a sequence is just a back and forth between characters. Character 1 is saying one or two things, and then character 2 gives a retort, and rinse and repeat until you have a full page, and just make sure that the page ends on a resolution of that back and forth. Now, there are of course a lot of exceptions to this. One of those things are a page turner, okay, where you kind of not end the sequence on a resolution. Instead, the resolution is happening on the next page. When you turn the page, there's a big reveal. So for now, let's get into camera angles. This will be a short one. I like to think of myself as if I'm a cameraman and I'm panning around my characters or the moment that's happening, and I'm looking for a better shot to where I'm going to draw them on the panel, okay? And I use this trick so that I don't have any repeating panels or panels that look similar to each other. And there are of course exceptions to this, because there are panels like this where I just change an expression and it's built up to be a comedic moment. But for the most part, I don't like my panels to have that redundancy into them, right? I like to make them more unique. Camera angles comes in handy, especially when you get into action sequences, and I like to direct my action sequences in an extreme way. Lots of wide shots for shortened angles, close-ups to really emphasize that emotions of the characters is feeling. And I need a lot of angles, especially when there are moments that are happening in quick succession. And a quick tip about making action sequences: try to make your panels on an angle, okay? Because it kind of implies that the panels is also taking an action along with the moment, the context of the scene. And speaking of context, let's get into context now. So context is just the why the characters are doing what they're doing, or why the moment is happening. And you need to put that into consideration when you're drawing your panels, okay? So for example, I'll give you a page here that I made where Aki and Hikari are having an argument. And the context is that they're kind of angry with each other because Hikari wants Aki to go with him, and Aki doesn't want to leave the farm. So the context is that these characters are extremely close, and so this argument is kind of hurting them, and it escalates to a point where they kind of start physically fighting. So on these pages, I gave the characters wide poses and really exaggerated expressions to really emphasize what they are arguing about. So that's the body language, and that's the context I want to show to my audience. Now I want to circle back to camera angles now, because there are some camera angles that really emphasize the context of the scene, okay? For example, I like to use a low camera angle when I'm trying to imply tension and a sense of dread. And sometimes, when you're looking down and up at something, it kind of gives you a sense of scale. Or how about an over-the-shoulder shot where the camera is coming from behind the character and we can see who he or she is talking to. My Fengzu video, as well as my Yasuke Murata study, goes in depth of the camera angles that you can use. I'll link them somewhere around here, okay? Alright, now let's get into actually converting a proper script that one of my Discord members created. Let's get into it. So this script came from a Discord member called Fig. And this is actually a well-written script. I can actually vividly imagine what's happening in this sequence based on the description, right? This is really good. So I broke the sequence down like this, and I'm gonna give you the logic as to why I broke it down this way, okay? So let's start with panel 1. This is just an establishing shot. The panel begins and ends with this single one panel sequence, okay? But panel 2, 3, and 4 is actually its own sequence that also begins and ends by the kid just tripping from a branch or something on the ground and then face palming at the very end of the sequence, okay? That's tier 2. So tier 3, the last two panels, also is its own sequence, but instead of ending the sequence, I actually leave off the sequence unfinished because this is building up to a big reveal for the next page, okay? So let's start with panel 1. This is just an establishing shot. That's the sequence here, and it's also its own context. We need to know where we are at the world at this moment, okay? And the camera angle that I use is just a wide shot, so we can see everything. But panel 2, 3, and 4 is its own sequence, and this is actually, I think it's built up to be a comedic moment, and it's about the kid falling to the ground face first. The camera angle that I use here is really a sequential angle where it's almost like an animation of some sort, and I think it implies a lot of that comedic moment here. But panel 5 and panel 6 is kind of building up to something big for the next panel, so I don't really end the sequence properly. Instead, it's supposed to be a page turner, and in the next page I can imagine this to be a big drawing of whatever the kid is looking at. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want your manga script to be converted and I'll have it reviewed, please join my Discord server. The link will be down in the description below. And if you're interested in reading my manga, the first chapter is already available on Shueisha's Manga Plus, also on the description down below, okay? And that's it for me, guys. As always, like and subscribe, and bye-bye you!